Hey everyone, welcome to lesson 3 of the image gallery project. In this lesson, we're going to pretty much wrap up our HTML structure and our markup syntax. And we'll also take a look at something called attributes for HTML tags. So let's get to it. Our workflow, we want to have our Cloud9 IDE or your IDE that you're using if you're not a classroom student, and open up to the index.html file that we worked on last. And just a little reminder here, if I click out of that, I am not closing or deleting the file. I'm just closing it from the editor. I can double click and bring that back from the folder structure over here. Just make sure that you're saving so that it's saving in the editor when you close. All right, back to other part of the workflows. We want to have our GitHub repository available to us so that we could check the markdown specifications and other items for resources. And then we're going to go directly to our friends at W3 Schools as well. So let's head on over to there now, and we're just going to go to the HTML, the Learn HTML piece, and we will progress accordingly here. So let's take a look at what an attribute is first of all. So we looked at introduction, we looked at elements. Here is what an attribute is for an HTML tag. And just taking a look at the middle bullets here. All HTML elements can have attributes. They're not required, but they can. It provides additional information about that element. And attributes are always specified in the start tag, not in the end tag. And finally, they could come in the following structure: name equals, and then the value in quotes. So whatever the attribute is the name, and then the property value of that attribute would be in quotes. So an example is links, and quite honestly, the H in HTML is for a hyperlink, and this is exactly how it would happen. So it's the A tag that does that. A tag provides the hyperlink. However, what you see is in between the open and close tag, visit W3 Schools. Notice now the open tag has a little more information here. It just doesn't have the less than greater than symbol with A in it. It has a space, and then href, the hyperlink reference, is the name of the attribute. And then equal and the value is the actual website or URL that we would like our users to visit when they click on Visit W3 Schools. So that's it. Nice and easy for an attribute, and there's lots of different ones. We are going to be taking a look at the source attribute in a moment because we're doing an image gallery. So image galleries, or actually just images, is one of the few that has just an open tag. And notice the source is going to provide us with where the image is actually coming from. So what's our source of this image? Two things can happen. It could be an absolute source, meaning we are just going to pull that from another website. So we're going to have our image pulled from another website on the web. Or it could be relative, meaning that the images are stored in the file or project, and we're just referencing that project by itself. So we are going to use relative URL today. And it says down below a tip: it's almost always best to use relative. Well, that's simply because if you're relying on another website for your link, if anything were to happen to that or it was shut down, then your link is now no longer valid. So in an image, we're going to just download that and put it into our project. So let's see how all that shakes out. Back to our HTML document, and let's scroll up a little bit here, and we're going to be working in the body of the document, and specifically move your cursor in between the section element and hit enter. Okay, now we are going to have, like I said in the previous, we're using semantic because this is HTML, because this is a section separate from the header, but we are going to have subdivisions within the section. And one division is going to be a div tag, div snippet. We're going to open that up, and within this entire division is going to be what we call the image card. We'll get to that in the next video, but everything related to the image itself, the title of it, and the source of where it came from will be inside of this tag. So that means we're going to have three different pieces. So right off the bat, we're going to have an image snippet as our first piece. So if I type in IM, notice the snippet comes up. And while it doesn't require the closing, it is showing that, so it's not an issue here. But the source, notice the cursor now is saying, okay, if you want an image, where do you want to get it? So if you pull down on the left-hand side the assets folder, we are going to use the Aloha. We have all of these images here with one markdown file. So do me a favor and hover over the first one and right click on that, and we want to go all the way down to copy file path. Now I'm kind of cheating here, but I'll explain what we're doing. If I then come back and paste, Control V, we're getting the path of this image. Now, this file, index.html, is already in the folder image gallery. So we do not need to instruct the browser to open that. But notice now, index.html is actually right off of the root of image gallery, and so is the folder. So when a browser reads this, we do want to instruct it to open up the folder assets first. Then there's a backslash, and then the name of the image. So let's hit Control S just to save that. Next part down, we're going to use, we're going to hit Enter after the image, and we're going to type the word site. And let's just take a quick look at what site does. So if we head on back to HTML with tutorial within W3 Schools, let's come down to, if I remember where this is here, references. So HTML tag list. So basically this is a list of all tags. Everything we do in development, it has some kind of documentation somewhere. So please do not feel like you have to memorize this. But if you have an idea of where to look for it, that's great. And there is the site tag, and it defines the title of the work. So if we just double click on that, and it just gives us a little more explanation and so on. So we're going to use that for the title of the work. So let's come on back here. And the title of this work is going to be, let's see, Aloha Palm Tree Blue Sky, and I'll explain where I'm getting that from momentarily. Okay, let's hit Control S again, and let's take a look and then one more time, let's hit Enter, and we want to open the rest of this with a paragraph tag. That's a P tag, so the P snippet. Open and close paragraph tag, and now we want to actually source this. So let me explain where I'm going from these. This is, there are many different resources for free commercial use images, and one great source is Pixabay. That's what I was using here. So if I just went into Pixabay's website and typed in Hawaii and scrolled down and found this picture right here, I believe is what we're using, the Aloha Palm Tree Blue Sky. If I open that up, I have the ability to download this. Now, there is a license. It's free for commercial use, no attribution required, and for my students, we will have different resources in your repository that hits on copyright use of other artists' work. But here, this is a commercial free use. However, when you do click download, it does request to, hey, it would be nice if you say thanks to the image officer. Crediting isn't required based on the licensing, but linking back is greatly appreciated. So that's what the author desired. So here's the linking back, this copy button. We want this source, image by, and notice there's an underline. That's a hyperlink, so that's an A tag. Then from, and then Pixabay, another A tag. But instead of doing that ourselves, we could just copy that. And I've done that for you. So we don't have to go back to every single image. If you look back into the project folder and assets, open up the assets folder. Everything in here is JPEGs or images except for the .md. That means it's another document file. So here is the document file from Pixabay. Well, this one, since we want the code now, we're going to head back and just grab the code from that assets folder. So let's pull that down, open up the markdown file in the separate tag, and here's what you want to copy here. There's a lot going on. The Aloha Palm Tree Blue Sky we have in the site, so from image over, all the way over. Notice there's the A tag. We want to go all the way to the end, and there's a lot here. And we just want to put that from open to close. Control C, put that in our clipboard memory, and then we want to come back to index and paste it in between our paragraph tag. So we could clean this up a little bit because this is very long. There's the end of the P tag. And if I just come back to a breakpoint, and one breakpoint is, notice there's two A tags on one line here. The first A tag gives reference to the artist who took this. And then the next A tag, starting here, is actually the website right to the artist photo. So now you have, in between the A tag is Pixabay or the artist's name. So that's how we're going to source this, and notice we're going to wrap it in a paragraph. Believe it or not, that is it for the HTML section here. From this div down to the top, and I want to show you a little trick here. If you click on this div, notice its counterpart closing tag will kind of put a very subtle box around it and say, hey, here's my close. Everything here is now the parent div for the card that we're going to call it for everything related to that image. We have the image itself, we have the site, and then we have the P tag that goes along with the reference. So title is what the site is, the credit to the author, and the image itself. Let's take a quick peek and see what this looks like in preview. So Control S. Let's hit preview here, and lo and behold, this is a little bit on the big side. So we have a trick that we could utilize, and we go back one more time to our friend, the attribute section, and let's go into attributes here. Did I go to the wrong spot here? Yes, I went to reference. I'm sorry. I want to go all the way back. My apologies. Let's go all the way back to the home screen. That's probably a much easier way to do this, but here we go. In the tutorials where I wanted to go, and I was in the reference, so my apologies. Click on HTML attributes so we go back to the tutorial for this. And down below, there's another attribute here. There's two more. The width and height and the alt attribute. So we want the alt attribute. Notice this is required of all images. And it's for a couple of reasons. If the image for some reason cannot be displayed, or there's a slow connection, or even more importantly, if the user is using a screen reader, meaning might have difficulty visually, so they're having everything read to them, then it will read what the actual image is. We want to put that alt tag in. So one way to do that is just copy and paste, or just alt equals. Remember, the name of the attribute is alt, and the value is the name you're giving the tag. So I'm going to come back to Cloud9 here, and we're going to go up to the image inside of the opening or starting tag after the source value. So we want to be outside of those quotes. Hit space and then type in alt equals, and here I just copied it from the example, so I want to delete that, and I want to type in the site here, Aloha Palm Tree Blue Sky. All right, so that's one additional attribute. So yes, you could have multiple attributes separated by spaces, the name equals, and then the value. We have one more to go here because that picture didn't look all that great. So if you notice, we also could set the width and height. So I'm going to copy width equals and height equals. We're going to add two more attributes, the width and the height, to our image. Come on back, and we want to put that right after the blue sky, so space. And these are in pixels, so I'm just going to go 300 by 300 for now. Quite honestly, we will be changing these with styling, but for now, this will help show on our preview. So we've got the source attribute, we've got the alt. Please make sure you have that alt in every image you use. And we've got the width and height. Save your file, Control S. Let's hit preview one more time. And now that image is a little more manageable. So we have our titles up here, our H1, H4, H6. We have our image, we have our site, and then we have our links. Paragraph tag, image by, our link to the author from Pixabay's website. That is it for the HTML structure. Well, that was kind of anticlimactic. This is only the structure. We are now going to proceed into the styling of this and make this look far more professional and much prettier and all of that. So that is coming up in the next video, so stay tuned for that. And if you're curious, okay, well, wait a minute. That's one. What about other images? What we're going to do is we're going to take this structure from here to here, and our project will have 9 images, but once we are happy with the styling and the structure of one, we just copy 8 others and just replace the assets. So we finished up our, believe it or not, very brief and only 26 lines. We finished up the structure for HTML, the basics. We're going to go into styling. You learned what attributes are of the HTML tags. They are in the start tag, name equals value, values in quotes. Thanks for coming along, everybody. We will see you in the next one.